Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, especially the board below. Welcome to this dialogue session with Mr. Verhezen, who wrote the book of Making Wise Decisions in a Smart World, Responsible Leadership in an Era of Artificial Intelligence, as I show you. In the other dialogue, Peter has shared about wising up amidst a turbulent future, which is actually delivered as a prologue of his book. Now, we welcome again Peter to this dialogue session. Thank you. And then we are going to elaborate the topic of smart to wise decision making. In your book, Peter, you mentioned that good and smart decisions should be distinguished from wise decision making, especially in the age of artificial intelligence where algorithms are increasingly used to automate business process or to augment the accuracy and speed it up of decision. And you also say in your book that eventually the new leadership we emphasize may embrace artificial intelligence that can augment our ability to make better and smarter decisions. But, with the big but, only conscious humans are able to intentionally make wise decisions. And to be wise is to see through, to self-regulate, and to generate profound insight. Peter, coming from that angle above, would you please elaborate deeper from the perspective of responsible leadership so board will be able to make wise decisions in an era of artificial intelligence?
Thank you so much for the question, Antonius. Yes, I argue that there is a transition from smart to wise decision making. Now, why do I think this? Well, the hypothesis once more is that the future will be digital. There is no doubt in my mind and in most people's mind in this domain that AI will help us to become more effective, efficient. It will make us more, quote unquote, intelligent to the extent that it will allow us to calculate much faster optimization problems from any kind, starting with finding new medicine through calculations of chemical formulas to optimization of a more sustainable smart city where the traffic lights are, let's say, effectively tuned in, aligned to a flow of cars and or other vehicles in a city. So there are many applications. All that is called smart. And so yes, the future will be more digital. You see that already in a number of countries. Definitely China is making huge efforts, but also the Americans, the Europeans, and other countries in the world. But my second as important statement or hypothesis is that the future will be also more relational, or it will not be. What I mean by relational, it is that if we do not acknowledge the interdependencies of us humans towards our broader environment, including nature environment, then I'm afraid we're going to blow up ourselves, literally or figuratively. So the issue around relationships, or the future is relational, has to do indeed with the whole debate today about sustainability. Not just climate change and greenhouse gases that has a negative impact on our environment, but also biodiversity, pollution, you just name it. And let's not forget also our socio-ethical issues, the interdependencies of communities and business dependent on communities, as well as communities dependent on business that create value for us. So in other words, if we only focusing as what's happening today on efficiency, it becomes a very economic, calculative methodology where AI indeed will help us to to become more effective and efficient, but then we're going to forget what it means to be human. And that human aspect has to do with relations and relationships. Again, between us, ourselves, communities, but also between us and a much broader environment. And it's that second part, the future is relational, that will require wisdom, because it requires not to think in objective truths as it is today, but also about in what kind of world do we want to live. And that is something that requires moral, ethical, socio-economic thinking about imagining a better world. And that is not just being smart, that will require to be wise, because it will require a much more systemic, holistic, broader perspective where all shareholders and stakeholders need to be engaged in order to create a future that is more sensible and more livable for everyone on the planet. So that was in a nutshell where I believe that the transition is necessary from effective, efficient economic thinking, smart decision making, towards a broader, more sustainable world in which wise leaders will need to take their responsibility, especially those that today own the algorithms, the AI tools that we all are using. So I'm not afraid about AI. I'm more afraid about leaders in the corporate world who may not take their full responsibility, as we do see today. I think that is, in a nutshell, why I believe these two issues, digital AI, smartness on one hand, and relationships, consciousness, wisdom on the other hand, are both necessary. Wisdom without being smart, it is dreaming. Smart without wisdom is an effective robot that doesn't care about other people. That is what I feel is going to be crucial. That is what is at stake. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Peter, for the explanation. It's so insightful. Now, before I come to some highlight of you are just saying, may I reiterate a sentence in your book quoted in French, Governor, c'est prévoir. We talk about mindful leadership, power in organization, and governing organization under high uncertainty, aiming to foresee and experiment how to steer organization to create value. In this case, you have mentioned already as a gentle reminder to all of us that you are not afraid about artificial intelligence, but you are afraid about leaders in corporate world who might not take their full responsibility. As such, we need to ensure the balance between smartness in one hand and relational consciousness or wisdom in the other hand. Both are important, as wisdom without being smart is dreaming, as you said, and smart without wisdom will make us just like a robot that doesn't care about other people. Then, to the audience, as we are now at the end of the dialogue, where we have learned about smart to wise decision making, please join me to thank Peter, and also let me invite you to other topics of dialogue about reasonable and responsible decision making, which will be delivered again by Peter. Thank you, everyone.